So it's official. Deontay Wilder will defend his WBC World Heavyweight title on November 4th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, live on Showtime against Luis Ortiz. Now, Deontay Wilder is a fighter who has received a hell of a lot of criticism throughout his career. Some of it deserved, but a lot of it undeserved. If you rewind back to when Wilder was first challenging for this WBC World Heavyweight title against Bermane Stiverne, a hell of a lot of people picked him to lose against Stiverne. A hell of a lot of people. They said he's too wild. He's going to get exposed. It's the first time he's fought a puncher. He's going to walk into something. Look at the way Stiverne knocked out Areola, who's got a great chin, etc. As we now know, none of that happened. He destroyed Bermane Stiverne. It was an easy fight. Barely lost a round. Embarrassed him. And those people who pick Wilder to get knocked out, well, now they're coming out with all the excuses. Oh, well, Stiverne was dehydrated and, oh, he wasn't himself and a million and one excuses rather than give Wilder any credit at all. Unbelievable. Fast forward a little bit from then, he was mandated to fight his challenger, mandatory challenger, Alexander Povetkin. And there was a hell of a lot of people, mainly the same group of people, who were adamant that Deontay Wilder was going to vacate his belt rather than fight Povetkin. Oh, he's a coward. He'll never fight somebody like Povetkin. He'll get knocked out and he knows it. He's never going to go through with a fight. He's going to vacate. You watch. What happened? He didn't vacate. He was ready and willing to go over to Russia and fight Povetkin. Did those people give him any credit? Not at all. In fact, they actually tried to blame Wilder and Al Heyman for Povetkin coming up with a positive PED test. They actually tried to blame him, even though there is a serious issue with Russian athletes taking the particular PED that Povetkin was caught taking. So what, are Al Heyman and Deontay Wilder responsible for all of that? All of those different Russian athletes across all these different sports? And furthermore, Povetkin admitted that he was taking that substance just a few months before he got banned. But yeah, oh no, it's all down to Heyman and Wilder. Ridiculous. But again, this is what these people were doing. Give Wilder no credit. That's the theme. Fast forward to this year, and you got fighters like Luis Ortiz calling Deontay Wilder out. In fact, he's been calling Deontay Wilder out for a while. And the same group of critics, they're saying Wilder will never face Luis Ortiz. Ortiz would knock him out. Wilder's a coward. He don't have the heart to go in there against somebody like Ortiz. He get destroyed. He get exposed the first time he goes in against somebody who can really punch and has some technical ability. He's getting flattened. Weren't you saying that when he fought Bermane Stiverne? Well, that's what they're saying. That's what he's been saying this year. You know, to forget about Stiverne, they've been saying it again this year with Luis Ortiz. And then rumors came out that Wilder was actually going to fight Ortiz. And what did I say? I said, you know what? I think Wilder's serious about fighting Ortiz. Oh, no, he's not serious. How can you believe that, Hat Man? How can you believe he's going to... Well, I guess I've got a pretty decent read on these situations because now it's been signed. The press conference is tomorrow. There's still going to be some people saying, oh, Wilder's going to pull out and, oh, no, he's not really going to go through. Unbelievable. And I've already seen it, actually. I've already seen what's happening. That Wilder's going to get no credit for fighting Ortiz, and he's definitely going to get no credit if he beats Ortiz. Because no sooner has the fight been signed that all these people claiming Wilder's a coward and he would never go through with a fight, they're now getting cold feet. And now they're saying, well, Ortiz is old. Wilder's only taking it because he's old, and yeah, he looked terrible in his last couple fights. That's the only reason why he's taking his fight. Yeah. What happened to all the stuff about Ortiz and not Wilder out? What happened to all that? Now he's old. Now Wilder's only taking it because he looked trash in his last... Unbelievable. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that people were saying Luis Ortiz would beat Anthony Joshua and that Joshua was ducking him. Now Wilder's actually signed to fight him. Yeah, let's give Wilder no credit at all for that. Incredible. And I'm telling you now, if he beats Luis Ortiz, it's going to be the same. He's an old man. He's not really very good. But you weren't saying that a couple months ago. You were saying this guy is one of the best in the division and that he's going to destroy Deontay Wilder if they ever fought. And Wilder would never have the heart to step in the ring with him. I wasn't saying that. I was telling you I think Wilder will fight him. As soon as the rumors started circulating, I think Wilder's going to do it. I think he's serious. So who has a good read on the situation, me or you? Unbelievable. Now let me explain to you why this fight is actually happening. Has Deontay Wilder been protected to some degree by his team throughout his career? Yes, he has. I'm not here to tell you otherwise. He has. But whenever there's been a situation where Wilder has something to gain financially in terms of a big payday, or there's a title on the line, his team don't stand in his way in those situations. He's been very vocal about unifications. His team ain't going to stand in his way in terms of trying to unify with Joshua. That's an enormous money fight. They're going to let him take that fight if it can be made. At the moment, Joshua's tied up with mandatories. But, well, actually, Ortiz, now that mandatory is no longer on the table, so he's just got to take care of Joseph Parker, so maybe the unification won't be too far away. But still, he's got to take care of this Pulev fight. Did I say Joseph Parker? Sorry, Pulev. He's got to take care of this Pulev mandatory. But after that, maybe there'll be a unification. Anyway, Wilder's team ain't going to stand in the way of a unification. It's too much money. They weren't going to stand in the way of the Povetkin fight. Even though the Povetkin fight was dangerous, even though it was in Russia, they didn't stand in the way because of the amount of money that was on the table. Wilder weren't going to get paid that kind of money fighting anybody on a PBC show in the United States. They couldn't stand in the way of Wilder making that kind of money. So they let him go to Russia and take the fight. Other than that, though, if it's not a situation where there's a title on the line or a hell of a lot of money on the line, then Wilder's team don't like putting Wilder in with anybody particularly dangerous unless it's a fellow Al Haymon fighter. That seems to be the situation as an outsider looking in. If it's a fellow Al Haymon fighter, cool, we'll put him in with him. And that's what's happening right here with Luis Ortiz. Ortiz is signed to Al Haymon. He signed earlier this year. Prior to signing with Al Haymon, they weren't trying to make Wilder fight Ortiz. But now that he's signed, they're like, okay, green light, you can go fight Ortiz. Because whoever wins, Al Haymon's got it covered. He's got both fighters signed. That's why the fight is happening. Now, is Wilder afraid of Luis Ortiz? I don't think for even 1 second that Deontay Wilder is frightened of Luis Ortiz. Have you not watched Deontay Wilder's fights? Does he look like a scared man to you? This guy is a fighter. He's got a fighting heart, a fighting instinct. Even if you go back and look at the footage of him getting stopped in the amateurs, was he cowering in the corner, feeling sorry for himself when he got stopped? No. He got up off the canvas and he stood there, he tried to do what he could. Yeah, he got stopped. People get stopped. But he's never shown a yellow streak in him in a boxing ring, even in his amateur days. He's got a hell of a lot of fighting instinct, Deontay Wilder. Now, whether or not he wins this Luis Ortiz fight, that's another matter. Do I think that it's an easy win for Deontay Wilder? Absolutely not. I think Ortiz is very dangerous. And please, all you people who have been saying Wilder would never take the fight, don't start backtracking now. Don't start getting cold feet now and saying, oh, well, Ortiz is old. No, don't start saying all that. You weren't saying that before. I think it's a dangerous fight. It's definitely not a guaranteed win for Wilder, far from it. But do I make Wilder the favorite personally? Yes. I do give the edge to Deontay Wilder. I will be picking him to win this fight. My biggest concern for Wilder is his right hand, because he's had a lot of problems with it. He keeps breaking it. In the Gerald Washington fight, he didn't actually throw that many right hands. And I don't think that's just because he's had issues with hand injuries. although that might have been part of the reason we didn't throw it much. I think it's also because Washington was tall, and whenever Wilder fights tall people, his punch volume goes right down. We saw it when he fought a guy called Kelvin Price earlier on in his career. It was a very similar performance to the Washington performance. So that's that. But still, I do find Wilder's reoccurring hand injuries concerning. And that's despite having titanium plates put in his hand, he still ends up mashing up his hand on a fairly regular basis. He don't want to mash up his hand against Luis Ortiz. He's going to need that right hand. Now, people say Ortiz is going to walk Wilder down and knock him out. Well, he might. But the reason I'm picking Wilder is because Ortiz has got slow feet. Yeah, he's good on the inside. He's this, that, and the other. And lest we forget, because, again, people are going to start coming out saying Ortiz is old and et cetera, et cetera. Ortiz did a much better job on Bryant Jennings than Vladimir Klitschko did. Let's not forget about that. People that want to start saying that Ortiz is no good. Well, compare his performance against Jennings to Klitschko's. Styles make fights at the end of the day. Jennings fought a suicidal fight against Luis Ortiz. A similar fight to how he fought against Klitschko, actually. After the first couple rounds against Klitschko, Jennings went forward and tried to take Klitschko into the trenches. Klitschko didn't do much other than just grab him when he could. And, yeah, not do much. Whereas against Luis Ortiz, Ortiz is much better than Klitschko on the inside. And it was absolute suicide for Bryant Jennings to fight that way. But he did, and he paid for it. He got stopped. So Ortiz is dangerous. He also walked down Tony Thompson, knocked out Tony Thompson in however many rounds. These guys were playing into Ortiz's hands. Jennings stood right in front of Ortiz. Bad mistake. Tried to swap shots with him. Tony Thompson has got extremely slow feet. You know, I think Ortiz has got slow feet, but Tony Thompson is slow as molasses. Slow hands, slow feet, just slow all round. So, yeah, Ortiz was able to walk him down and get close to him and do his thing. Wilder is a hell of a lot quicker on his feet than Tony Thompson. Hell of a lot quicker with his hands. Hell of a lot sharper, taller, longer arms, rangier. I don't think Ortiz is going to find it easy getting close to Deontay Wilder. I think his slow feet are going to get shown up in this fight. And Wilder's going to be hitting him with the big right hand from long range. I think it will be similar to the Stavern fight, although Ortiz is better coming forward than Berman Stavern is. No question about that. He is. He's taller than Stavern. He's a southpaw. Excuse me. We saw Deontay Wilder struggle a bit against Artur Spilka, who's also a southpaw. But Artur Spilka's got much quicker feet than Luis Ortiz. Artur Spilka is much more of a mover than Luis Ortiz, and I think it was the movement of Spilka that gave Deontay Wilder issues in terms of trying to find his range. Ortiz is much more flat-footed than Spilka, a much more stationary target. I don't think Wilder will struggle as much to land his right hand. He has to worry about the left-hand counters, though, from Ortiz, but Wilder is quick enough whereby I think he'll be able to avoid most of those big left-hand counters. That's what I believe. Would it shock me if Luis Ortiz was actually able to win the fight? Absolutely not. I wouldn't be shocked. But I am edging towards Deontay Wilder. And when he wins, just give him some credit. Like, stop all this nonsense and just, you know, it's one of them situations where, for whatever reason, people don't like Deontay Wilder. They've decided to take out their frustration and anger in life on certain fighters, and Deontay Wilder's one of them. And they let that anger and that dislike for him cloud their judgment. They're obsessed with all this windmill stuff, as if he hasn't fought plenty of fighters that have got better technique than himself and beat them. As if he hasn't fought big punchers before. He has. Berman Stavern's one of the best punchers in the division. Then he's going to fight another one of the best punchers in the division in Ortiz. And if he comes through, what then? Oh, he still can't take a punch. Well, whether he can take a punch or not. If he's not getting hit with the punch, then it's irrelevant, isn't it? So if he wins, give him some credit. And you should be giving him some credit for even taking the fight. You know, he could have vacated like you said he was going to do against Alexander Pavetta. He didn't vacate. Give him some credit, man. Don't let your hatred for certain fighters cloud your judgment and cause you to behave in a hypocritical fashion where you're always moving the goalposts in terms of what the fighter must do in order to get your respect. Stop moving the goalposts. Give the guy some credit, man. That's all. Again, he has received protection from his team to a certain degree. But as I said, a lot of fighters do. A lot of what goes on in boxing is politics. Anyway, drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about this fight. How do you think it's going to go? There's links in the description to the official announcement of this fight. Again, the press conference is tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. It will be streamed on Showtime's channel. They've put up an alert for that stream on YouTube, so make sure you catch that, all right? It's happening, I'm out.